Welcome to Advocacy Exchange Injury and Tagline.
Hey there, and welcome back to Advocacy Exchange, Navigating Texas Injury Law with Larry Littleton. Larry has been representing injured Texans for over 40 years and brings a strategy-focused approach to every case. I am Kevin Rosenquist, and today's topic is one many people wish they'd heard before they needed it: what to do and what not to do right after a car crash. Larry, welcome back.
Howdy, how's everything going?
Everything's good. Everything's good. How are things in Texas?
Hot. It's always hot.
It's always hot. Yep. That is true. Well, today we're going to talk about what to do right after a crash. We've talked about a few of these things in previous episodes. I encourage everybody to go out and listen to those. But for people who found us just in this topic alone, let's go over some of the things that they should do. So when someone is in a crash, what are the things that they should focus on in the immediate aftermath? Of course, assuming that they're safe and conscious and all that.
Well, the first thing to do is, if you're the driver, for example, in control of the vehicle, you need to determine if your passengers are okay.
Sure.
Is there anyone bleeding? Is there anyone with a severe injury? Then once you know that everything seems to be okay, from that point, you can get out of your vehicle, go look at the other side, talk to the other side to see if they're okay, to see if the issue is to determine whether or not 911 should be called for an ambulance. Okay. And when you get them on the phone, the first thing they're going to say, well, is this involving a city or state vehicle? And don't ask, but just be used to it. They're going to ask that question first. And then they're going to ask whether or not there is anybody injured and if anyone's unconscious. Once that's determined, then 911 is called in. Generally speaking, the ambulance is going to arrive before the police get there. But at any rate, when the police get there, they normally, what they do is they separate the parties away from the scene. Now, let me take one step back here. When you get out of your vehicle and at the time of an accident, you make sure that it's safe to get out of the vehicle. For example, if you get an accident that occurred on the freeway, you open your door, it's liable to be another accident by somebody passing by. So right. My point is, you need to be recognizing your circumstances, recognizing the continuing danger that you may be in. Okay. Once that is completed, then the officer comes to investigate. They separate and they start asking questions about how the accident occurred. During that period of time, if after everybody's okay and the ambulance is on its way or not, then take your cell phone out and take as many pictures as you possibly can. Hopefully before the vehicles are moved, the position of the vehicles in the lane. And most of that will be taken care of by just taking your cell phone and click, taking 5, 10 photos, be able to show what was going on. Those photos at times can be priceless. They can put the vehicles in position. It can indicate the angle of impact, indicate a lot of factors that will be important later on in the case. Once that has been completed and the officer starts his investigation, you just have to remember one golden rule. You have to answer the questions of the officer because he needs to determine what happened. But don't give a lot of detail, just only what you remember. And most importantly is be polite. You'd be surprised the number of people that get involved in the accident. They jump out of the car and they start pointing their finger at the other side and accusing him. The police officer sees it, and the police officer suddenly starts to take sides. Okay? Mm-hmm. So the police officer is supposed to be neutral. The police officer is for investigating only, and he should be treated with that kind of respect. Disrespecting another driver or disrespecting a police officer is always negative and will hurt your case. Mm-hmm. That's the number one thing you need to watch for.
Should people always call the police after an accident? If assuming there's enough damage for it. I mean, sometimes if another party might be trying to convince you, oh, we can handle this on our own. Do you recommend people still call the police?
If the damage is going to be more than $500 worth of repair, yes. Okay. The reason I hesitate with it is how many times I've had cases come in. There was no police report whatsoever. And the insurance company says, my client doesn't know anything about an accident at all. What proof do you have they were there? Now,
Mhm.
if the client has got photos and he's got the license tags on there and he's got information from that defendant, that may be sufficient. Okay. But the best way to do it is if it's extensive damage to the vehicle, don't be convinced not to call the police. Call the police. Now, you got to remember now, if the vehicles are such that they can be moved, there's an obligation to get them out of a moving lane of traffic. But that's assuming that the vehicles are operable. They can
Sure.
be moved without endangerment. So that's important also. But the general rule is that when you're in those kinds of situations, it's just use a lot of common sense, which I know some people have difficulty with because they get angry or emotional. But the
Yep.
point is, put it down. There's a reason why you need to keep a cool head.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. Will the police always show up? I've heard stories of where, if they're busy, if there's something going on, that sometimes they won't show up. Does that happen where you are in Texas?
Well, first of all, the weather in Texas is just wait till tomorrow and it'll change. Okay. So if
Mhm.
you've got a lot of flooding, if you've got a lot of rain, there's going to be a lot of accidents. And as a result, you got the limited number of police officers that are on duty at that time. And they may well differentiate between, is this a serious accident? Is someone bleeding? Is it someone need a 911 or an ambulance? If you tell the 911 call that you don't need an ambulance with it, then many times they will convince you just to exchange information. And if that occurs, the way you handle that is that you need to file a report yourself. You tell the other individual, look, there is a substation very close to here. Google it, and it'll tell you where the substations are. And then why don't you just accompany me and we'll just go down there and make this report. That's after you've taken photos. It's after you've got the information. Hopefully, you've taken pictures of his insurance card and license. Everything is fine. Then, when you offer to go to a substation to file what they call a walk in report, that walk in report can be very important because it occurs at or about the time of the accident. It's current, and the other side has an option to do the same thing. And so, you want to try to do it together. It doesn't always happen that way. Sometimes I will get phone calls an hour or two later from a existing client and say, look, I got another fender bender. I don't understand what to do. This guy wants to leave. The cops haven't got here. I've got to take the kids to their dance class. What do I do, Larry? Okay. And I will tell them, get pictures of the vehicle, pictures of the driver's license, pictures of the insurance, and the information about the vehicle damage and the setting, and then let him be released. And it's offered, look, let's go to the substation and put all this information down. Okay. Sometimes the other side will say, well, it's my fault. I understand. If you have the ability, turn your recorder on your cell phone. Nearly all of them have a recording function on them now. Recording him saying he's admitting liability and being at the place of the accident solves most of the problems. But
Mhm.
if they won't, which most of them do not, and most of them don't accompany to you the substation, they just go on driving on, thinking that you'll not do anything. When you go to the substation and the report is within 24 hours of the date of the accident, then that gives a lot of credit, a lot of info, a lot of support to your position that you're involved in an accident, it was this driver, and that you're not at fault. So those are the basic things that you have to watch for. The red flags is the guy that says, hey, don't worry about it. My insurance will take care of it. And when you run the information on the insurance, yeah, but the last time he paid for it was 2 years ago.
Mhm.
Okay. So,
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. Yeah, when it comes to medical care, I think we live, you know, in a society. A lot of us just walk things off, rub some dirt on it. I'm fine. Like it's not a big deal. I'm just a little sore, all that kind of stuff. You know how that goes. So, do you generally recommend people still seek medical care if the injuries don't seem serious at first, even if they feel generally okay?
yes, I do, but it doesn't require you to go to emergency room. It doesn't
Okay.
require you to go to emergency care. The problem comes in with the practicality. And the practicality is this: if you've got an health insurance with a PCP and your accident happens on Friday and you wait till Monday to call, and they say, well, yeah, we can see you in 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, there's medical testimony out there in the world concerning soft tissue injuries that failure to have medical attention to a soft tissue injury, allowing physical therapy or chiropractic assistance, will cause scar tissue. And that scar tissue is something that you need to take care of immediately. The second part of it is insurance companies look at it, and the first thing they say, well, wait a minute, Larry, they didn't even see a doctor for 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So how injured could they be?
Yep.
If I had $5 for that, every time I was told that by an insurance company, I'd be rich. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The point is that you need to do the things that are important to you. If you don't do them, then they hold it up in front of you and say, yeah, you were so severely hurt, you waited 2 weeks to go see a doctor. The third problem that can occur is that if you have a PCP or health insurance, many times they will say, look, we don't want to see you if you were involved in a motor vehicle accident. And the reason for it is the health insurance gives us lots of problems concerning that kind of coverage. So you can end up with a situation of a delay caused by the doctor's office not wanting to see you.
Jeez.
So that can be a negative as well. So the point is, if you get injured, and now even if it's just a stiffness, and remember now, the soft tissue injuries don't normally have an immediate problem. It's usually anywhere between 24 to 72 hours later. Generally speaking, the neck is the one that gives the first incidence of problems, but the low back is the last. So I have no idea concerning why this occurs, but it occurs repetitively. And so you get someone that's waited 2 weeks. Yeah, my neck is still sore. It's not getting any better. I've taken so much Tylenol, I'm going to be glowing in the dark. I don't know what's going to happen to me. I can't understand why I get well. And my low back is starting to give me trouble too. Mr. Lawyer, please solve my problem.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so sometimes you have to cover your bases early because you don't know what's going on. If you go to the PCP, you are a doctor, a medical doctor, and you tell them about your neck and back and what your discomfort is, then you're covered if you need future treatment.
Right. Are there common mistakes you see other than maybe doing what we just talked about, and that you see people make in those early hours or a few days after a crash?
Yeah, sometimes they will be very talkative. And
Yeah.
they will start talking to the record driver. They're a good old country boy, and the record driver's a good old country boy. And they start talking about fishing, and they start talking about all the activities. And he said, yeah, I used to go fishing all the time, but then I hurt myself on the job about 5 years ago, and I've been disabled ever since. Okay. Now, that information is going to come out in a case no matter what. But the point is, it could be misunderstood as to what that information is. So generally speaking, what I tell most people as a preliminary involved in an accident that may occur in the future is don't be talkative. Just do the basic, but simple information, exchange it, talk to the officer, tell them what's going on, and go on. You don't need to write a book and tell them about everything in your life that has nothing related to your accident. There's one thing to be friendly, it's one thing to be respectful, and it's another to tell your life story.
Right. Yep. To overshare, as so many people tend to do these days. And actually, piggybacking off of that, I wanted to ask you about social media. Social media has its pros and it definitely has its cons too. What are the risks that you've seen of posting about the crash on social media? There's some people who post everything. Their entire life is up there on Facebook. Even if it's something simple like saying that, hey guys, don't worry, I'm okay. Like what are some of the risks that you see that come from that?
The best way to explain it is what you put in a social media message or post, you might as well take it and put it on a billboard on the Southwest Freeway to let everybody see it, because it's available to anybody and everybody. There is no restriction in the way the information was given. Therefore, that is open to the public. It is published, the lawyer says. Okay? Sometimes these things can be extremely devastating, especially, as you just said, posting said, I was involved in an accident, and this has happened in truth. Involved in an accident, somebody hit me and they were really disrespectful. I'm going to make him pay. I'm okay, but I'm going to make him pay. Ooh, have that read back to me after I've sent a demand. It's devastating.
Yeah.
Okay.
You don't want to hear that in court, or for sure. That could be bad.
But there, it depends on the circumstances. It depends on the person. Sometimes social media posts of in the past can be helpful. For example, if a person is an avid tennis player, or he likes to bowl and he's got constant photos of all that participation, and now during this period of the accident his back is hurting and he can't go to the bowling alley, and he lost the tournament in participating, and he couldn't take his kids down there to do that. The fact that it's in the social media validates that somewhat.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
But any posting concerning the accident, no. Capital NO, no. Just as clear as I can make it. Don't post about an accident, period.
That's funny. It's funny to hear you say that, only because it's, we all laugh sometimes when we see people with pictures of their dinner or whatever pointless things they have. But there are some people who just post every single thing. And I've seen people post like, I was in an accident, this is crazy, you believe this and stuff. And even before I knew more about this stuff from talking to people like you, I was like, that just doesn't seem like a good idea.
No, it's not.
Yeah, I
Because
mean,
the posting done at a question of time and place, what the circumstances were at the time, and an indication that there may be an injury. You suddenly changed your mind and said there was an injury.
right.
Okay, so that implication is there. So to eliminate the possibility of a negative implication, a negative effect on your case, just don't post.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to your wife. Your
Talk to someone talk to someone like sitting next to you. Don't put it out for the whole world to see. Yeah, that's
the best thing is just don't talk to nobody about nothing until you talk to a lawyer, and then a lawyer can tell you what you can say and not say.
That's true too.
Case. It's there are so many defenses, and there's so many hoops that have to be followed through to get recovery. Don't make them any more difficult.
Mm-hmm.
So don't post, don't talk about, don't have any communications about your accident with anybody but your lawyer.
Yep, that's very sound advice, as always. Well, that's it for another episode of Advocacy Exchange, navigating Texas injury law. I hope we were able to give you guys some information on how to handle an accident. We all hope we don't end up in one, but if you do, hopefully you're armed with a little bit more information. And if you've been involved in a crash, if you need some more help, the team at Littleton Law Firm is here for you. Visit littletonlawfirm.com. They'll give you clear experience guidance. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Leave us a review. We very much appreciate it. Larry, I always appreciate you. Thank you so much for being here. Looking forward to chatting again.
Oh, it's wonderful. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.